Hello, Miss V and my little boy. Well, you're not little anymore, are you?
Hola.
Erik. Hola, ¿qué tal?
He says I'm ageless, Mama.
I know. Wow. Wish I
Hi.
were. All right, so I'm excited today because we are going to, and I think this is going to be more than one part. I really do. We're going to try to get in Chris Cornell, who I know I don't even know who he is really, but everybody seems to want to hear from him. And so maybe we have something we can learn from Mr. Cornell. What do you think, Erik? You think you can get our main man for the
So
day?
I'm all about the teaching and the transparency. So I want to tell you that Erik and I have been chit-chatting.
Hmm.
Uh, when I found out that we were, yes, people, I find out a day or so ahead of time. Erik and I get together and he introduces me ahead of time to the energy. Now, this is really a thing because as an evidential medium, I want to make sure that I have here who I'm supposed to have. So,
Yes.
full disclosure, so nobody can send emails. So Erik and I have been sitting here, and we have Chris Cornell. We've been hanging and jamming.
Oh, that's awesome. What's
So you're
evidential? What's an evidential medium again?
So an evidential medium is when I channel, when I do bring in your loved ones, I give you proof. I give you evidence.
Ooh, good.
I don't tell you your grandmother loved you so much.
Oh
I
yeah,
tell you what your grandmother died of, when she died, who her sister was. I can give evidence.
that's
That's
awesome. But I don't like things like, well, show me proof. What was his last meal or something like that.
no, because listen, we're not circus acts.
No.
We
Right,
get
right.
to jump through hoops. It's very difficult to hear as a medium. It's not like this kind of hearing. And
Yes,
so
yes.
when I say evidence, it's to give validation, to make peace and comfort of the person that I'm doing the reading for, so they don't have any questions about who's here.
Yes,
So,
and the other is more like just I don't know, contentious, and so that's a very difficult energy to get through. All right,
yeah.
so hello, Mr. Cornell. I'm sorry we've just been hogging the mic here now, but I'm so glad you are here with us. And I promise I'm going to make this an interview that will hopefully help your family if they happen to listen, but it will also, be your chance to tell your story and for us to learn from you and your life. Is that okay?
He is totally chill and he says, yes. He says, I showed up for a reason.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. All right. I'm not going to show you my ignorance by asking you what band you're with and all this kind of stuff. Everybody knows except for me. But I've got a lot of questions from blog members, if you don't mind. And oh, by the way, Erik, remember I love you, just in case you forgot.
I love you too, he says.
I think I already said it, but anyway. All right. So my this is the question from a blog member. My question is that there's speculation that your death was not a suicide, but a murder due to the work that you do with your foundation that fights child trafficking. What do you think? I mean, what do you know?
So he says, first of all, that he knew we were going to open up with the speculation around his death. He's heard
Yeah.
that many times.
Mm.
He said, let's just dispel any mystery right now and tell you that it wasn't even suicide, it was an accident.
What? What was an accidental overdose, maybe? Or
He said that he took too much Ativan.
oh, okay. Well, that could happen. Oh, and
Mhm.
mixing it with alcohol and things like that could be very
He
dangerous
said,
too.
I was in a really good place in my life. I
Oh.
was a little anxious. He's telling me he suffered with anxiety his
Mm.
entire life, and he
Oh.
was just taking the edge off.
Yeah.
He also goes on to say that, can you imagine how pumped up I was after performing?
Oh gosh.
I was
Yeah.
looking to come a little bit down. Well, I went a little bit down, he says.
Yeah.
He's
Bless your
got
heart.
quite a sense of humor.
Oh, that's good. Okay, how did your passing affect your friend Chester Bennington? I mean, that make him take his own life, or wait, how did your passing affect your friend Chester Bennington to take his own life, or did he? There's so much controversy around both of your deaths, whether it was by suicide or something else. So yours by accident, and so talk to us about Chester.
Um, he says that he and Chester are together. They do jam. They do hang out.
Oh,
They were the best of buds.
oh,
And he's saying that, of course, my death would affect Chester. As if he had died first, it would have affected me.
yeah,
He said, but I don't feel that my death was the catalyst for Chester taking his life.
exactly.
Chester was, as Chris is saying, in over his head.
Yeah.
He was emotionally coming apart at the seams for so many reasons, he says, and that's not my story to tell.
Okay. Well, we might need to talk to him because, yeah.
Mhm.
Do you regret leaving this world? A blog member says. So far, these are all from blog members.
He says, leaving this world is not something one ever regrets because once you cross over, you know that there are no regrets. He says, everything is completely, and he's doing this, everything is completely clear. I understand how the workings of day one of my physical life affected and impacted the moment that I stopped breathing. It's complete
Wow.
clarity.
God, that must be amazing. I don't know if my head could hold all that information.
Our
So,
normal can't.
yeah, of course not. Do you, somebody wants to know, do you watch over your family?
He says, I watch over my family the same as I did when I was in life. I was always in touch with them, always in contact with them. I'm always leaving them signs. I've never not been with them.
Wow.
My wife will always be my wife.
Oh, that's so sweet. Um, are there any other famous musicians with you other than Chester? Lane Staley from Alice in Chains, Andrew Wood, Kurt Cobain, John Lennon, Prince, Michael Jackson, anybody?
He, he says that Erik is laughing because Erik Erik says it's like, what do people think? This is one big free for all up here?
Yeah, kind of.
Laughing. Um, Chris is telling me that. Let me just get a minute here because he's talking very quickly. Chris is telling me that it isn't like everybody goes into the same space at the same time. And it's also whether these energies can connect and decide they want to come together. Yes, I've been with Chester. Yes, I've been with John Lennon. Yes, I've even been with Elvis. And
Oh,
he's laughing and he says, yeah, he's left the building.
oh, that is so funny. You do have a good sense of
He is
humor.
so funny. Eric's cracking up.
Oh, that is so funny. So, who do you mostly hang around with? Not just museums, but grandparents or,
Yeah,
anything?
he's saying at this point,
Or pets?
he's actually teaching, and so he has a very specific space that he focuses on. And so, yes, he can eat pizza. Yes, he can hang out. He said, but a lot of his time and his energy is focused on helping these, and he and Erik, helping the young souls who have come over. Now, I say young
Ah,
souls. His words were young soul, but I have to interpret this because a young soul is not necessarily a young person.
oh, I
A
see.
soul.
Yeah.
That's what Chris is helping people with.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting. Uh, was is heaven what you thought it would be?
Um, Heaven is a very good word to describe something that feels euphoric, that feels, he says, free.
Mm,
If I were to put what heaven is into words, I would tell you it is the complete definition of freedom.
mm. But then you don't get the human experience, so I don't want everybody to say, "Well, God, I don't want to be there." No, the earthly plane is so important, and yeah. So we'll,
He says that
yeah.
he wants to go on to say to you that the earthly plane, of course, has its role, and I chose the earthly plane, but no matter how hard one tries, one can never replicate the feeling of being free from one's physical body
Hmm.
and he's saying the mental attachments that one acquires.
Yes. Yeah.
I have to tell you, he's super intelligent, well
Wow.
spoken, very articulate. Um, just
Oh, articulate. That was the word I was trying to think of yesterday. I can't remember when. All right, now I know. Okay, can you tell us about your childhood?
he said, I had a great childhood in for all intents and purposes. From the outside world, it would look like I had a great childhood. You know, there were uh, six siblings, five siblings,
A
something,
bunch.
a bunch of siblings.
Hmm.
Um, his parents, he's telling me, were professionals.
Okay.
He was raised with religion, you know,
Okay.
that's the kind of normal thing.
Yeah.
He's, but he always knew he was different.
Ah.
He didn't know what different was. And he's telling me that he suffered from um, anxiety and depression beginning around age 11, I think
Mm,
he's saying.
okay.
Uh, he was a very anxious, nervous kid, but he's also giving credit to his mother for giving him the gift and the knowledge of an instrument,
Oh,
music.
because that if you express your soul like that, maybe it helps, right? Helps your
He,
depression or anxiety.
he fell in love. Oh, interesting. He's showing me he's playing the guitar as a young kid.
Hmm.
He fell in love with it, and he says this is very interesting. He says he knows
Hmm.
now that at age 11, 12, 13, 14, when he was feeling this depression, and playing the guitar, what he was actually doing was hiding out behind this instrument.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
it wasn't
It's like
like,
a banky,
right,
blanky. Yeah.
yes, yes, right here. And
Mm,
Erik and him and I was part of this as we sat silent. Erik and him were talking about the guitar, you know, just
yeah.
hanging out and jamming.
Wow. All right. So at 11, this happened. You started to develop anxiety and depression. Is that linked to another life where you were 11 and something horrible happened, or maybe at another age? Is the onset of that somehow attached to another life, past or future? Or is it just neurochemical?
So he says what he understands now is that everything he's doing everything is like a link. He's making like a chain with his hands.
Hmm.
Everything is interconnected.
Oh, even the lives, different lives you have.
There
Yeah.
is no separation. And so the memory, he calls it, around age 11 or 12, when he started to feel this heaviness, this sadness, because outwardly, remember, he shouldn't have had any of that. But the
Yeah.
memory
Yeah.
of a past life came back. And one of the memories that he says that is most significant to him is that he was orphaned at a
Oh.
very young age.
Mm.
And he says, isn't it interesting to know that I come back born into a life that's thriving and
Yeah.
it's a full family. He must have had a huge family, right? He's like, yeah. I can't hear if he's saying 5 or 6 kids, but
Okay, that's not important.
Mhm.
Wow. So is that the life that most influenced your life as Chris Cornell?
Well, he says unconsciously. You
All
know,
right. Well, yeah, sure.
I didn't
Sure.
know that that was
Yeah.
influencing it, as that's a part of it. That's the part that gave me depression. He's also telling me he spent time with Mozart
Oh, when? Oh, okay.
in his one of his
Not in
past
the afterlife, but no. Okay, got it, got it, got it.
one
Oh,
of his
so that's the music time, maybe.
Yep. And he's saying that Mozart in that life taught him how to compensate for what was missing in
Was
life.
that the life where he was an orphan as well?
No, that's a
Oh, it's
different life.
another. Okay. Wow.
So
So,
he, I would say to you, he also feels very, very spiritual to me,
wow.
like uber spiritual. And I'm feeling the human part of him.
Yeah. Well, why? What happened to your parents when you were orphaned? How did they die? And when? What era was this in? And maybe what continent?
He says it was the 1800s, 1802, I believe, is where
Okay.
he's showing me. Um, his father was he's a dry goods or a sack. He drove
Okay.
sacks around to
Hmm.
sell stuff. And they were actually in a caravan moving, and there was I'm hearing like an attack,
Okay.
a war of
Oh,
sorts.
wow.
And so the family was killed. He said what saved him was um, the wagon was positioned as such
Oh,
that
I see. Yeah.
shelter under the wagon. You
Mm.
know, it's interesting because he's saying that he never a lot of his life he went through his young life never feeling seen or heard.
Oh, wow. Maybe
And so,
that's part of it
mhm, and
because he
so
was hidden by the, and now he hides behind then he hid behind the guitar.
he
Wagon, guitar.
yeah, he would do extraordinary things with his appearance
Hmm.
as a kid, where he almost, was trying to be seen. Would oftentimes, pierce things, grow things,
Yeah.
ink things. He says
Mm. Well,
so.
what country was this in 1802?
The U.S.
Oh,
actually,
okay.
what we now refer to as the United States of
Okay. All right. Somebody wants to know, well, we'll also ask about the most influential other life, but that's not right now. What was going on in your head up until your final physical moments? Do you remember?
He says I was tired. I just
Mm,
remember being so jacked up, and
mm-hmm,
then all of a sudden I was tired.
mm.
I was tired. He says I just went to sleep.
Were you surprised to wake up in heaven? And what was that transition like? Did you wake up in a white room? Did you see a white tunnel of light?
He
Um,
says actually there were it looked golden. It was as if I were lying on a table and I was being examined,
hmm,
and it looked like there was golden light all around me,
hmm.
and it was extremely warm, and I didn't realize, he says, that I was even in another dimension.
Ah, you thought you were dreaming, maybe?
The aspect of being human kind of carried over with me as it was
Yeah,
imprinted on my brain. I didn't fully understand that I didn't need this. He's going like,
yeah. The body. Yeah.
yeah. And
So who met you first after you crossed over?
he, he says that calling her Graham.
Okay.
Grammy. I don't know if he's saying Graham or
Okay.
Grammy, but
That's fine. But a
grandmother,
grandmother. Okay.
a
Uh,
maternal grandmother.
okay. Do you miss your family and friends like we miss people who have crossed over, or is it different in the non-physical? Good question.
He says missing someone. I feel like I'm going to cry. Missing someone is a huge
Aw.
emotion.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I don't think about them. He says, no, let me rephrase that, because we don't think.
Oh, you feel.
Feel. I
Right.
can't miss something as I knew it in human form,
Mm.
because I'm not with them.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense. Somebody wants to know if you plan on incarnating again soon in our lifetime.
He says that's not up for negotiation right now.
Okay, so figuring it out. Was it your passing part of a soul plan? Was it a predetermined exit point that you designed, or did, was free will purely involved?
I had two exit points that
Okay.
I chosen from. One was early on,
Hmm.
and one was within 3 years of when I went. It could have been 3 years later or 3 years
Okay.
later. Mhm.
Okay.
So yes, it was.
All right. Let me see. What is your meaning of love? That's kind of a cool question.
So what is, he said that the meaning of love for him is radical acceptance. So much so that you look at the person that you are immersed in, that you are completely consumed with, that you just have this immediate and radical acceptance of them.
Mm,
Pure
wow.
love.
Yeah.
Pure.
That's nice. It's not really a question, but it's a message from someone who has had a lot of losses in his life. My brother Chris died of a heroin overdose. He was my best friend, happened in 97. And he had a handful of close brother-like best friends that I grew up with that have crossed as well. My friend Steven died of pancreatic cancer. My other friend Jason shot himself in the head. But people think his girlfriend did it. My friend Jimmy was stabbed here in Florida and died. My other friend Harry was killed in a car crash. My good friend Norm died from a heroin overdose as well. And I can go on and on, not to mention grandparents are gone, uncles, cousins. It's crazy. I have no childhood friends left. So I seek spirituality and found comfort in knowing that there is an afterlife and that they are still with us. Wow. Do you have anything to say to this person?
Spot on. He says spot on. They are
What?
still with you. They are still with you.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Why
And
has he had to go through so many losses?
Erik is shaking his head, going, Mom, we don't know that, and we can't get into that.
Okay, we can't. All right.
Kind of not why we're here.
Okay, you're right.
Erik's keeping us on track.
Uh-oh. Almost took you down a rabbit hole. But maybe that person needs to book a session with you and find out more. Was it your spiritual contract to become a musician, or could you have taken another avenue?
My spiritual contract was always about influencing people, changing lives, and helping humanity become better. I just happened to use the vehicle of music and the gift of words.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Some of these are repeats. Uh, have you hung out? Well, we kind of answered this, but just specifically, have you hung out with Kurt Cobain since you passed?
Oh, yeah, of course. We came up together, he says.
Oh, okay.
And it's
Really?
interesting because I have to tell you that in the beginning, when Erik and Chris and I were just hanging and just, I was receiving, Eddie Vedder is one of my, oh my God, Eddie Vedder is the lead singer
Huh.
for Pearl Jam. And
Oh,
Eddie
I love Pearl
Vedder,
Jam. Oh, that highly recognizable voice.
yes, it's so distinct. And Chris Cornell and Eddie Vedder were like total buds. I mean, they did music together, and I have chills right now. And Chris said Eddie Vedder is the only one of all of us that came up on the music scene at the same time that's still alive. Chester,
Wow.
Eddie Vedder,
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain, Chris
Yeah.
Cornell. Yeah.
All right. So, what is that Pearl Jam song that is the lead song, the main song in the soundtrack for that movie with Adam Sandler, where he's just lost all his family or whatever? Leaning on me. I can't remember it, but
I'm still alive.
no.
That was funny. That was funny because that was Chris saying alive. He doesn't,
Oh no, I can't remember. But anyway, I'll kind of be looking at it up.
right?
Okay, let's see. But now back to this. Were you scared when you transitioned? Someone wants to know.
No, he said no. I didn't know I transitioned.
Oh yeah, that's right. After you, no, okay. He has the voice of an angel. I'll never get tired of hearing his music. Is he aware of how deeply he affected so many with his lyrics and voice? It seemed like he was very insightful and deep. You know, and also, were you channeling when you wrote and
Listen,
performed?
I want to tell you, he has such a presence. I'm getting emotional.
Oh,
One of the things that he's sharing with me, he, and people don't know this,
hmm.
he loved poetry. Not
Oh,
any one poet, he says. He loved, he loved the way the words danced together on the page.
wow.
And so he is telling me that he was always an artist. And even when he wasn't an artist with the music, he was using the inspiration from the words on the page.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Beautiful.
Um, mm. Uh, what is his take on the feud? Oh, what is your take on the feud between your widow and the former bandmates? It seems to me that she is being mistreated and is having to protect herself and her family.
The word he gives on that is this: it will make her a stronger person, and ultimately she will get what's due her, meaning, he says, from a spiritual perspective. So when he says what's due her, it's not what we think as humans as what's due her. He
Hmm.
says in the end she is a good person and she will learn the lessons she needs, and
Hmm.
that's the important part.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Um, your young daughter Tony has released a couple of songs, and it is said that she could pick up any instrument and play it. Will she end up being a successful singer slash musician like you were and are?
He
Uh,
has this beautiful glow on him, and he said Tony has the voice of an angel,
mm,
and it is my honor and my privilege to have been the portal to help bring Tony into this world. And Tony, yes, will follow in my footsteps.
oh wow. The name of the movie, by the way, is Rain Over Me. Rain over. Anyway, it's awesome. It is such a great song. You recognize that? This Adam Sandler was a total mess. Completely different type of role. Actually. Um, okay. Another rabbit hole. Yay! But we'll go on. So
Look, a shiny thing, a
a
shiny
tiny thing. I'm like a crow. Oh, squirrel. Um, Also, Tony seems to have many of the same mannerisms as you, apparently, Chris. So I'm wondering if you guys are twin flames.
Tony and I were soulmates, and I am Tony's spirit guide. I am the
Oh, wow.
I am the voice that guides Tony, and I am the voice that will watch after her in her career.
That is great. Okay.
Oh, wait, he wants
oh,
to go, wait, he wants to go one step further and tell us that Tony's mother is very protective of her, but Tony will be coming out with her own music
good.
in the next 2 years.
Ooh, good. Okay. Now, what does the future of your son Christopher look like? Will he also have a one in music?
He says Christopher is a hands-on kind of kid. He
Mm-hmm.
likes to figure things out.
Okay.
Christopher more left brain, but he's also very right brain. Christopher's a really cool kid, he says. He's a
Oh,
really cool
that's so
kid.
great.
Actually, he says that my kids taught me a lot about life.
Oh, mine too. They're here to make us better people.
Absolutely.
All right. So, what is Vicky's your widow? What is her life purpose? It seems like she's a very strong woman, and is having to stand up for herself. Of course, as we just talked about. Um,
Vicky was born to be a mother.
oh,
Vicky is very maternal, and Vicky will take the reins of the foundation that we created, and she will make change in the world.
oh gosh, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Uh, why are people always saying negative things about Vicky and calling her a gold digger? They appear to be deeply in, y'all appear to be deeply in love, and she seems like a really good mother and wife. It's just I don't know, the age-old thing of the strong woman is looked on as a bitch, pretty much. That's what he's saying. So, what's up with that?
He says people are assholes.
I know a lot of them are.
He says, pure and simple, everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a perspective. He says, what one person sees as a loving, giving act, somebody else is going to excavate, find the dirt, and go sling that.
Yeah. Um, are you making music still on that side?
Oh, always, always,
Oh,
he
it's
said.
great.
And he says, don't forget, I will work through Tony. You will
Okay.
hear me in Tony's voice. Tony is Tony.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not hijacking her body. He's quick to say,
Okay.
but you will hear influences of me.
I got you. Okay.
And the visual representation will be eerie.
Oh, wow. Did you know the person that murdered you? Well, no. Okay, so one person asked, "Did you really hang yourself? I mean, were you found with a something around your neck or something, or
Yeah,
was that staged or what?"
he took too many. He's
Ativan.
saying,
Yeah.
clear this up. I took too many pills.
Mm-hmm.
I was very, very down.
Yeah.
My mind started tripping, and I wanted to be out. So I knew that that was the way to go.
So it was an accident in that you would not have wanted to hang yourself
Correct.
if you weren't on the Ativan.
Yes,
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
he wants to clarify that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Uh, okay, same questions. Okay. Do you feel the magnitude of love and loss emanating from your fans all over the planet after you transitioned?
He says yes, but he's also very plugged in and attuned to a very high vibration in general. So it
Oh,
isn't necessarily, he sees what's happening with his fans. He
yeah.
knows how he is loved. Um, and so that energy kind of feeds him and connects with him. I'm just trying to articulate how he's saying it, and there are no human words for it,
No,
so
I
that's
know
why.
our vocabulary is so limited. So, do you have any message for Vicky or any of your children specifically?
He wants Vicky to keep fighting for what's right,
Okay.
keep our dream alive,
Okay.
know that we must help the children.
Okay.
Now, he means everybody's children through the organization.
Sure.
And as far as his kids, he says, always keep the light shining inside of you. Always pursue your passion.
Mm. So why was it the child trafficking then? I mean, was there something, some experience that triggered you to form this foundation and make this and Vicky's passion?
Mhm. He's saying that it's more than trafficking, it's feeding them, it's educating them. He says that he tried to address the whole problem because trafficking, yes, it's a horrible thing. You get taken, you get abducted.
Mm.
But one of the things that he is very passionate about and is turning a corner with the leadership in his foundation, kids who have a strong sense of self, a strong sense of self-worth,
Mm-hmm.
are less likely to
Ah,
fall victim to being
yeah.
prey.
So why did
And
you pick that? What? Oh, go ahead.
he says because he himself suffered with depression, low self-esteem,
Oh,
not
yeah,
feeling good enough.
yeah.
And he's saying that he had friends around him that were impacted and affected by this. And he said that was just, he says it sounds so cliche, but we really need to take care of our future. And that
I
means taking
know.
care of our children.
Exactly. I was just like, okay, why didn't you just make your thing like about autism or whatever? But I understand now. All right. Um, do you have any messages for your fans?
I would have never been where I was if it wasn't for them. And I say that in a literal sense. They
Yeah.
put me in the position to have the influence to change a culture. When I came out with my music, it wasn't mainstream. It wasn't anything anybody had really ever experienced.
Yeah.
I took this image and I took it further and I merged worlds with it, and they supported it.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you have any, well, what was your spiritual mission? Maybe you already said it. I don't know, but what was your main spiritual mission, um, during this past lifetime?
To impact and influence a culture, a generation, a mindset. And he says, by the way, he's like off on a tangent. By the way, one of my favorite singers is Frank Sinatra.
Oh, really?
So
Interesting.
I just
Have
thought I
you
would.
met him? You probably met him then, huh?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Actually, this is not the time, but I can tell you the energy of Frank Sinatra is surrounding us. So
Wow, so cool. Well, we should probably. I don't think he's on my list. Isn't that weird? All right, so were you here to learn anything in particular?
the first thing he said is self-reliance. He
Okay.
was he was so, he says, coddled and so protected and so secured. A lot of kids weren't. He didn't know the opposite of that, which is being self-reliant. So
Oh, I
there's a
see.
big
Yeah.
lesson for him with self-reliance. Now, if you remember the life he talked about where he was orphaned,
He had to be self-reliant, right?
right? So he brought a lot of that skill set with him.
Ah, very good. Were you here to teach anything else beside what was part of your spiritual mission?
He says unity,
Okay.
unity. And he says
Maybe through music, right?
if you've ever watched my concerts, you'll see unity.
Oh, do you feel like you accomplished what you set out to accomplish this particular lifetime?
Absolutely. I have to do this because when I feel the spirits, they're in my ear and it feels like it's so full.
Oh
One's
my gosh,
the other side.
we're
Yes,
almost finished.
yes. He said, I do feel like I accomplished what I came to accomplish. He said, but let me be clear about this. Just because I don't have a physical body that doesn't mean I'm not done doing my to-do list.
Yeah, of course. Of course. So you said you had no regrets. So absolutely no regrets. Like you don't regret taking that extra Ativan pill or anything, or
Not in that sense. He said, if there's anything that I would regret, he says it's difficult to have a regret when you're where I am because everything looks seamless when you
I
have
see.
this
Yeah.
aerial view. So
Yeah, that's what they all say. I mean, they really do all say that.
yeah, you can't.
All right. Can you share another life that you feel most? I mean, we talked about this orphan one. Maybe that is the one, but any
Yeah,
life, past or future, that most affected your life as
definitely the orphan one and definitely the one with Mozart.
okay. So those two were it. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is there anything you want to share that nobody else knows about you? I mean, like I always use this example, Marie Callender, Madame Curie, uh, had this little teddy bear sewed on the inside of one of her skirts. Do you have something like that? Like when you take off your socks, you smell them. I don't know,
I
anything.
can't believe I feel embarrassed. He has a toe fetish.
Oh wow,
A
interesting.
toe fetish. He's obsessed with toes. He says, "Don't make it sound so weird."
No. Well, I
he
mean, what is it about toes?
he says,
Oh God.
"I need good toes. I need symmetrical toes. I need manicured toes." Vicky has great
Oh
toes.
my God, I don't. My husband said they're the second ugliest part of your body, which is so rude.
Listen, he's saying that this is so funny. Vicky gives good toe.
Oh my God, that's so funny. Uh,
Oh my God.
that's great. It doesn't affect me. I'm a doctor. I'm used to all this stuff. All right, so um, I guess Erik, do you have any questions?
Erik is like, listen, Erik's total fanboy right here. He's just
Oh,
in awe. And seriously, before we jumped on here, can I give a little bit more information?
yeah.
I sit here like this. I call Erik in. Erik comes in, he fills up my right ear all the time when we're going to work. And he calls Chris in, and I say, "How do I know it's Chris?" And I'll start automatic writing, and it'll be
Oh,
things, right? So then Chris, I can feel in my left ear. This is just how it happens to work here.
yeah.
And so we're talking, and Erik is, I told you, fanboying, but here's the thing, Erik and Chris are going to continue to work together to influence the youth to
Oh, that's nice.
from a perspective of they need to learn to express themselves in
Yeah,
a healthy way. Music is one avenue.
that's right.
So,
So, so Erik, you don't have any questions for Chris because you've been hanging out with him, right?
yeah.
All right.
No.
So, any other last message or advice for all of humanity, not just your fan base and family and friends?
He says that without the black hole, we would never know the light. And so understanding that the darkness, whether that's your emotions, your psychological, your mental outlook, whatever it is that you're in a black hole with, understand that it's so that you can recognize the light. And there will be
Beautiful.
somebody that walks across your path that gives you a sparkle, a little flickering of light. Everybody has that.
Oh yeah. All right. Here's this song. Uh, I don't know. No, no, that's already. Okay, where is that? Anyway, it's spooling up, but you don't recognize this? Well,
What is it?
love rain or me over me.
Isn't that the Who?
Mm-mm.
I think it was an original Who song.
Maybe.
I
But
think.
The voice is awesome. Do you hear it, or should I take my earphones off?
I can't hear it, but is
Okay.
this supposed to be Eddie Vedder?
Yeah, if we can get to it. But anyway, while it's getting to the main part, Chris, any other message you want? Hey, the mic is yours. Do you have anything else you want to share, or a message for any particular friend? Anything?
He says that he's just working on writing new songs, and he says that Tony will be the conduit for those new songs.
Oh, okay. I don't know why this is taking so long.
Yeah.
Anyway, maybe I'll just put it in the thing from him. But
Yeah, put a link in
I
there.
just
So
want to ask if this is. You recognize it? Is that Eddie Vedder?
it's a Pearl Jam song, but it's definitely an original Who song.
Okay, that's cool. Man, you know so much about music. All right, everybody, you guys. This is one of my favorite songs. You guys, thank you so much. And Erik, I love you. Chris Cornell, thank you so much for this.
I love you, Mama.
I love you, Miss
Peace
Vinny.
out.
See you later.
Out.
Toe Jam. Toe Jam, not Go Jam. Your new thing is going to be Toe Jam.